You know what to do to reach your health goals, to have the kind of experience you want to have. You know what kind of routine you need to do, but you just can't seem to get yourself to do it long enough to get the results that you desire. That's what we're talking about today, ladies. Why can't I stick to doing the things that I know that I want to do? I know what to do. Why don't I do it? That's what we're talking about today. Welcome, sisters, to the Body Ally podcast, where we learn how to stop battling with our bodies and with food from a faith-based, brain science-backed approach. We learn instead how to be an ally with our bodies, partnering with our bodies, and accepting them as the gift that God intended. Learning how to pursue health goals, not in an effort to prove value, but as an act of love. And I'm your host, Kerrie Nygaard. Hello. Okay, let's just go ahead and delve right into it. There are a lot of reasons, lots of reasons that I could come up with a whole slew of reasons why someone might not stick to doing the thing they know to do to get what it is that they want, especially in regards to health goals. I've come up with 3 that you likely have not thought about before. Usually women think, oh, I'm just weak, or I just can't stick to it. There's something wrong with me. I guess I just don't want it bad enough. I'm lazy. It's none of that. I mean, it could be some of that, to be honest. It could be. Sometimes there's things I know to do that I'm like, I just don't want to put forth the effort. And people might label that as lazy. I would say that that is properly allocating resources according to desire. Okay, that's kind of a supply-demand type scenario. And truth be told, there is an aspect of being interested in something versus actually committing to doing the thing. So there is an element of interest versus committed. This is a concept that's out there in the self-improvement world, okay? And it's this, that you can be interested in something and not be committed. The problem is we think that we're supposed to be committed when we're only ever actually interested. For example, for years before I became a life coach, went and got certification and did a whole business and everything, I was interested in it. I thought about it for years. I was interested in it. Once I became committed to it, then what did I do? Even if at the time I was pregnant when I actually decided that's what I was going to do, and we were building a house. And so there was different things I thought, well, I could start it right now, but I'm not going to start it right now because there's other things in life I want to kind of experience and not complicate things too much. But I created like a 3 to 5 year plan. And I decided that once, I had this baby and we got in this house, that then I would become certified. But in the meantime, I was going to develop my skills. And I created this like Marco Polo group where I invited friends and family to listen to a little weekly like life coaching tidbit or brain basic that I used to call them. I used to call them brain basics. And that's what evolved into the 8 brain basics that are the core foundational parts of what I teach in my Brain Management 101 life coaching practice. And that all started because every week I showed up and shared a thought, a life-changing, life hack, life coach type thought. And it resulted in me creating the basic 8 things you need to know about your brain in order to be in control of your brain and you not being at the effect of it. Because our brains are survival obsessed, therefore they do some funny things that are hard to understand and we think we're the problem. But when you really understand what your brain's doing, then you're able to leverage this information for your benefit and be the captain of your ship. Okay. And that's what came from that. And as I practiced that and showed up for myself, I was able to take on that identity. So I went from being interested to committed and taking action. What I see so often is women think they're supposed to be committed to their health, and they might even tell themselves they're committed, but they're actually just interested in it. And there's no shame in being interested. There's a lot of things I'm interested in that I even kind of think that I probably should be doing. But if I'm honest with myself, I'm actually not committed to it. I'm only ever just interested in it. And if you're honest with yourself with where you're at, hey, I thought I was committed, but I'm actually interested in this thing. Jody Moore is the one I heard this concept for, but she was quoting another coach. And so I don't even know where this idea came from. If you know, comment down below, let me know where this idea originated from, the idea between interest and committed, and that it's okay to be interested in something without taking action of commitment. Be honest with yourself with where you're at. And when you're honest with yourself with where you're at, you can drop the part where you give yourself shame for thinking you should be somewhere else that you're not, because being interested in something is a great place to be. And you can move from it at any point when you choose to. And women say, well, I really want to be committed. Why am I only interested? Well, that's a great question. And let me get into it. Here are 3 reasons why I think that this happens. 1, you've become someone who's identified with I can't, truly. So change work, change, like making changes in your life, getting different results, is actually identity work. The current results that you are getting in your life, in regards to anything in your life, but we'll just pick health goals because that's, what we talk about here on the Body Ally podcast. If you are pursuing a health goal, okay, and you think in terms of, I just can't seem to get myself to do that, and you've told yourself over and over and over again, guess what? The parts of your brain where over 90% of your thoughts are created and collected and automated, you have now programmed it to believe that you as identity, as a person, is someone who can't do that thing. And so now that you believe that you've programmed your brain subconsciously to believe it can't do that thing, that is what will be the result. So anytime you start to actually do the thing you desire to do without programming your brain to believe something different about yourself, your brain will sabotage it. You might even be making all the changes in your routine that you desire to make, and then all of a sudden you're just not doing it, and you don't know why you're not doing it because you enjoy doing it. You're just not doing it, and you just are so confused by this. This is a brain science, neurological, behavioral science reasoning. When you be careful what you tell yourself about yourself. If you tell yourself that I'm someone who just can't seem to do this, and you say that over and over and over again, you have programmed your brain to create that result for yourself. Less than 10% of our thoughts are conscious. What are you telling yourself about yourself? That is the result that you will get. So why might you not be able to do the thing, move from interest to committed? Because you haven't programmed your brain to believe that that is who you are. Another episode I'll teach is how do I program my brain. Okay, I'll get into that in another episode. But the next reason why that you probably haven't thought of as to why you can't seem to get yourself to do the thing you know to do, how move from interest to committed, is that your expectations of change are unreasonable, truly. So what do I mean by this? Well, let me give you an example. So it used to be that I wanted to be able, well, I still do, but like, I'm going to go back to, I was after my 4th baby, and I decided I want to learn how to do a pull-up. Now, I had been interested in learning how to do a pull-up for years. I'd even went to the gym and got up on the pull-up machine, and even had a friend push me up a few times, but I only ever did that I don't know, a couple times. I had so much interest in being able to do a pull-up. I thought it'd be so cool if I could do a pull-up. And it wasn't until after my 4th baby that I decided, hey, I want to really get this pull-up thing down. I made a commitment. I moved from interest to committed. But what I realized was if I just try to hang there on the bar and just try to do a pull-up a few times a week, I was making no progress. So I began researching. How do I learn how to do a pull-up? Well, I learned that you can't start with doing that. There's lots of different methods out there, and any of the methods will work. Some methods are probably more effective than others. And I realized I needed to, since I'm committed to this, I need to get serious about it. So I learned, someone gifted me, my sister-in-law gifted me one of those bands for one of my birthdays. It was awesome. She sent it to me. We lived in Florida at the time. And I knew that if I put this band around a pull-up bar, it would help make it easier for me. So I learned that. And then I also learned different exercises I could do with dumbbells to strengthen those parts of my back and my arms and my upper body to be able to do that full range of movement. I could if I held the bar halfway, I could do it. But if I was fully extended, I just couldn't seem to get my back to engage in the way it was necessary to get past that point. But by doing something called negatives, where you go to the top and slowly come down over and over, that helped. And then also, I asked my husband to install a pull-up bar in my garage. And in the garage, I put that bungee thing, the rubber band, the exercise band on. That made it easier. And every time I would go in and out from the garage, which was several times a day, because I'd be running errands or going to get kids or drop kids off, I would jump up, right? And I would use that band and I would do a pull-up as best I could. And I just began practicing. And here's the thing, is that it took a while. It took a while. Now, if I had an expectation that I should be able to get a pull-up within a week of doing this, well, I never would have done it. I would have given up because my expectation of the timeline was not realistic. Or that I should have thought, oh, within a month, surely I should be able to do 5 pull-ups, when really it took me several months to get one. Your expectation. Your brain is not hardwired to make big changes. If you make a big pendulum swing, there will be an opposite reaction of a pendulum swing. So if you're like, I'm going to get this right, I'm going to do all the things just perfect, and this is how it's going to look, and then you do it that way and it's really different from what you're used to doing, is it possible for you to stick with it? Yes. There's actually, in the book Atomic Habits, it has all these different ways that you can increase the probability of sticking with it. But that book also talks about not implementing big changes all at once, because if you do that, there'll be a rebound effect. And so what's the second reason why we aren't able to get ourselves to do the things that we desire to do? Because our expectation of the timeline is not reasonable. Most things take longer than you expect, and anything worth having usually takes time. That's just how life is. God operates with us through the medium of time, just like an artist uses paints or clay or any other medium. God in our lives works through the medium of time. So many Christians think, I've prayed, I've given it up to God, it should all be taken care of now. And they think that if they're still struggling with something after they've said one prayer, they think that there's something wrong with them. No, it's that their expectation is off. God works through the medium of time. Does he sometimes give us things just by asking quickly? Yeah, that does happen sometimes. But more often than not, my experience has been, and let me know what your experience has been down below in the comments, is that it takes time. Good things take time. God cares about who we're becoming in the process. I tell this to my ladies in my program, that does God care about your health goals? Well, he loves you. So of course he cares about your health goals because he cares about what you care about. But God cares a whole lot less about you getting what you want as he cares about who you're becoming. Life is not about getting everything you want. To God, life is about you becoming and choosing and becoming like his son. So is he the giver of good gifts? Yes. But sometimes within our society, we start to think that we're successful if we get everything we want in life. And that is not the purpose of life to God. God is not all about us getting everything we want, even though sometimes my brain wants to believe that it is. Life is about choosing him no matter what, and it's about who we become through the process of mortality. So again, just to kind of reiterate, the first one is the reason why we can't get ourselves to do what we want and stick to it is number one, we don't identify as being that kind of person. Number two, your expectations of what's reasonable, of what the timeline is unreasonable. Okay, we have an unreasonable timeline. And the third one is that we're just plain mean to ourselves. So when we're not reasonable, when we haven't taken the time to change the way we identify about ourselves, is that we heap persecution and meanness upon ourselves. We lecture and berate ourselves thinking it's helpful, but really it's mistreatment. Would you want to spend time with yourself if you had an option? The best gift you can give yourself is to be good company for yourself. Why? Because you can't escape yourself. I know, I've seen people try. People who don't like themselves very much because they're so mean to themselves, they spend a lot of time not being able to sit still, not able to be quiet, not even able to be still with their own thoughts, constantly trying to seek distraction after distraction after distraction. It leads to addictive behaviors of escape, leads to depression and oversleeping, because you're not a kind company for yourself. Now, this is a gift you give yourself. The world isn't so kind sometimes, and sometimes we've been programmed from the time that we're young to think unkind things about ourselves. But as adults, we get to change that. I remember when I first realized that I had given myself that gift. When we first moved to where we live now, this was like almost 12 years ago. Soon after we moved here, I said, we got to learn how to ski because I love the mountains, but it's snowy and I need to find more reasons to like winter because it's going to be winter whether I like it or not. So I need to find reasons to like winter. Other than it just being pretty on Christmas, okay? Or sledding. Like I needed more because winter's long when you live in the north. And so we took up skiing and the whole family learned how to ski except for the baby at the time. And I remember one day I dropped the school age kids off at school and the toddler, I found a babysitter and I went up and I skied for the morning. And I would do this maybe every other week. I would do this periodically, a handful of times throughout the winter where I would ski by myself. Usually I had kids with me or I'd go with my husband or a friend, but every once in a while I would just go by myself. When you have little ones around, quiet time is like golden, right? So I'd be in the mountains by myself, during the beautiful winter months. I had learned how to ski so I could actually do it without, so much fear and angst. I could actually ski down the hill. And I remember sitting on the chairlift. And I remember thinking, what a beautiful day it is. And, it's really enjoyable to be out here. And I was just kind of like having an internal dialogue, thinking about things. And yeah, that's kind of hard, but, we're really trying there and so forth. And I just realized, like it came out of nowhere. I realized that I was kind company to myself and that I liked my own company. I liked myself. Not that I liked everything about myself. There's things about myself that I would prefer to be different, for sure. But that's true for every person that I know. There's things, I don't love everything about everyone. The person that I love most in this world, the members of my family, I could tell you a handful of things about each one of them that I would prefer to be different. But that doesn't mean that I don't have immense love for them. And the same was true for myself. I had cultivated an internal type of self-talk, an internal way of being that argued for myself rather than against myself. And if you're striving to obtain some kind of routine, some kind of health goal, the habits that create the changes that you desire, you can't quite stick to it, one reason might be that when you aren't consistent the way you think you need to be consistent because you haven't done the work to identify correctly as someone who does that and you haven't had a realistic timeline on it, that you're mean to yourself. Why would you try if the inevitability is that you're going to give yourself a whole heap of crud on top of yourself? Why would you do that? Our brains, our nervous systems are smart. And if you treat yourself unkindly, you will feel a whole lot of resistance to doing things that in the past you have heaped persecution and condemnation and lecturing and just unkind meanness on yourself. So there's other reasons why you can't stick to doing the things that you know you want to do to get the results you desire. But those are 3 that you perhaps have not thought of before. Now, remember, ladies and men who are listening as well, that this podcast needs to be shared. It needs to have reviews. It needs to be given, 5 stars in order to continue to reach and teach women about accepting their bodies, becoming an ally to their bodies. Because here on the Body Ally Movement podcast, we talk about aligning with our bodies the way that God intended. We were not put here on this earth to constantly think about food and losing fat, but to thrive and create and to live out God's plan for them in this life. Thanks so much. Please help me out by sharing this podcast, share it with your friends, do all the work, text it right now, a link to someone you know who would enjoy it. Thanks so much. Bye-bye.